So we're going to record. So today I said we're going to deal with Azure, and we're going to roll out a Linux virtual machine. And I told everybody they needed to pre-search for Azure student account and activate their Azure student account by Google searching Azure student account. Click link, and click the green button. Y'all probably have already done that. You can then go to azure.microsoft.com and click the portal button. Portal. And I've already set one up, so we're going to look at Haley's machine because I've seen that she looks like logging in maybe for the first time. And oh, well, if you have free Azure advisor recommendations, you just close that little thingy out. And everybody should be on the Azure services. What I want you to do is there's two places you might have the all resources green Rubik's Cube, either up there at the top or down in the navigate, you'll have all resources. Go ahead and click on that. I think we may have already done this and verify that we don't have anything. So there's no resources to display. There's also a clear filter show hidden button that one student clicked on down in the bottom, and it revealed hidden resources that they had to remove. Haley, click the clear filter. There says nothing to display, so that's what we want to see. If you have something in there, it would have like little check boxes, and you just hit the little check box to select them all. Click the delete button, top of the little yes when it pops up into the right side of the screen, and click submit, and you'll have cleared everything out. And you'll be a nice, cool, no resources screen like Haley's has. Cool. Now the hard part. We want to deploy out a free virtual machine, and they like to not let you find it very easily. And no, you can't just go, new machine. No, you can't do that. That's wrong. Yep. So why is Jeremiah not logged in?
What?
Or is he logged in? Okay, you just had it on the shrinked and over on the right side of your screen. Okay. Maximize it. There you go. Click the hamburger. Can you find the hamburger on the page? It's in the top left.
Does it say all services?
I don't know, but that's what they always call it. I've heard it called the hamburger, so I'm keeping it called the hamburger. And then click on home. So to find the free virtual machine, you click the hamburger, you click on home, and you come up to the main page here, the Azure services page. And on this page, some of you may have some advertisements at the top that Haley doesn't have, but you will have an Azure services and the line of icons. And at the end of the line of icons, you'll have an arrow pointing to the right that says more services. And that is what you're trying to find off of the home screen, is more services, and click it. Once that pops in, all of your services show up, and you scroll down to the bottom and you look at the bottom center of your screen and you see the word free.
Yeah.
It says free offerings. It's in a little gray box in the bottom center, and there's a link. It says check out our free services. So you click that. And that's how you find the free stuff. And then you get a whole bunch of icons that says, look at all the free junk you can do. That's a lot of free stuff. You get it free for 12 months. Cool. If you scroll down, there's some stuff that's always free. Always free services. We're not going to do those down there. We only want free stuff for a week or so, or a year. So if you come up back up to the top of the screen, the first two icons are a Windows machine and a Linux machine. They give you 750 hours a month. And 750 hours a month means you can run it for the entire month without turning it off, and it's still free. Because if you take the longest month of the year with 31 days in it, which is January, no other month has 31 days in it. Okay, maybe a few. And you multiply that by 24, you come up with 744, I think. So they gave you 6 more hours than you could possibly have in a month free. Cool. So we want to create the Linux virtual machine. You just click create button. And you can only have one because I created a second one in years past, decades past. Okay, it's not that old. And they charged for it. So I couldn't have more than one free at a time. That's what it appeared anyway. Whoa, it said it can't create it at this current time. Did anybody else get that error?
Nope, I popped into the create a virtual machine.
Mine worked.
Try it again, Haley. Okay, cool. It didn't like that click at the first time. Okay. I'm going to double check I'm recording this because, yeah, okay, we're recording. This needs to be uploaded to YouTube. So we got this Create Virtual Machine Wizard, and we have a subscription. It should say Azure for Student. The resource group, you'll need to create a new resource group, and there's a nice little link there to click Create New. You type a name without any spaces in it or weird characters like security class. And hit OK. So there's your resource group. That's all of the network settings, any hard drives and stuff will all be clumped together for this virtual machine to run. You got to give the virtual machine a name. We just used the last name in our prior class. Yep, and wait for it to have a green checkbox. Or not a green checkbox, but a green check at the right side. If it doesn't have a green check, you'll have to maybe add some numbers or something to it. Then we have the region, Eastern US. We could also pick the West Coast. We could also pick Asia, I think. Yep. Or Western Europe. We don't get a whole lot of choices being on the free account. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different choices we can choose. Preferably you pick the data center that's closest to you physically because you'll have the least amount of latency to your virtual machine most often if you pick your closest one. But you can run it anywhere in the world. Put it closest to your customers is what you're supposed to do. Well, let's pick the central US because that's closest to us. It didn't really matter. Any of the US ones would have worked great, but central, sweet. Now we get to pick an image. We've hit the drop down. We got a lot of Linux distros that are free for us to use. I'm a little concerned about the Red Hat ones. That you might not be able to update them without paid subscription to Red Hat. So we're going to avoid the Red Hat ones. And we got Ubuntu's and Core OS and Debians. And as you scroll down, you have a bunch of CentOS machines, and you've played with CentOS before. It's basically the same thing as Red Hat, but you don't have to have a license key to patch it. We're going to pick the CentOS 3 Gen 1 without any extra letters out beside it. Yep, that one. So the offerings has changed since the last time I taught the course, but that one seems to be the one we need. We don't need to worry with Azure Spot instance because this is a free. The Azure Spot instance is only good for paid versions, and you can try to utilize spare resources for a cheaper price. Is basically what Spot instance is for, but it's not applicable in our situation. I know, because we tried it in the first class, and it said no. We're like, okay. So scroll down some. Now this is new from the last time I taught it. The creation of the public-private key pair is now automated. In the past, we used to have to open up a cloud shell, and we had to use OpenSSL and generate RSA keys and copy the big long keys and paste it into here and do lots of work with it. But now they've got a little info. Azure now automatically generates an SSH key pair for you and allows you to store it for future use. It's fast, simple, secure. Communicate with the virtual machine. It's almost like two-factor authentication. It's much better than password authentication. This is where the security comes into play, right here. We don't want to use password because we've cracked passwords in the past, have we not? We figured out our WPA password and stuff. So we're going to use a key. So leave it at the default, and that is the default. It's like, pick the most secure way. Now, username. We decided to go with student as the username. Although my last class, they all created different stuff, but some of them use student as the username.
Sounds like you weren't too excited about them using student as the username.
No, I wasn't excited about them using different things because then I can't log in, and they're trying to follow directions later and says log in as student, and they log and they're like, I can't, and they forgot that they created their own user account. That's what's annoying. Haley's being cool, and she put student in there, so that's good. The public key is going to be it's already selected for us because of our radio button up above it. Generate a new key pair, and the key pair is going to be named apparently Smith key with an underscore in it. We've also got what ports? I got an exclamation point going, hey, this port's going to be opened up to the public. Excuse me, it's a security flaw. You should probably set some firewall rules up and only allow access to known IP addresses at your company. That way the rest of the internet cannot get to you. So preferably you would do that, but in our instance, we're just going to let it open to everything because I have some security intrusion prevention systems that I want to implement. And if we close down the firewall rules, we won't be able to see it working. So we're just going to leave it as is and click review and create button. So this time it is generating a virtual machine, and it's making sure that CentOS 7.3, just a server-based command prompt install. Actually, no, it just validated and it's showing up. I jumped ahead a little bit. Sorry, we were at the review phase. I was getting a little bit too far ahead. So it validated that all of your settings are correct. Now you can click create, and it will start creating the new virtual machine and a server into the cloud. You've also got a dialog box. This is really important. This is the only time that you get a chance to download this file. It says, It says you need to download this key pair so that you can log into your system. You definitely want to download that file. Nice big blue button. Could not, what? Click it again. Description is not, click, let's see. Why is it doing that? Is everybody else is downloading?
No, one.
Worked. Mine worked.
So I've not seen that. Just keep on clicking it, I guess. Because I think that's the only time you get this link, and I don't know how we're going to. Well, don't spam it. Let's wait a little bit.
I did it on my home computer, so maybe that's.
Can you just give us the copy of it?
No, it's specific to that one. You can't get somebody else's key. It won't work with your virtual machine. Okay, Haley, click the, maybe the, I don't know. That should stay up on the key. Click the command shell up here. Maybe that won't disappear. Maybe. Don't know.
Pop up a welcome to Azure Cloud Shell at the bottom of the screen.
Did it keep the download link still up?
Yeah.
Why are y'all having issues? Doesn't make sense. Okay, well, in your Cloud Shell, can you
When we do
go ahead and launch it?
PowerShell or that?
Bash. And then just click the create button, the blue button. Yeah, create storage. See if that will go. Apparently Microsoft Cloud is having some issues right now. Okay, so for some reason in the afternoon, we got several people. Click return to create a virtual machine, I guess. Yeah, click the return to create a virtual machine button. And try to click the create again. And then try to hit download. Maybe it just had a, so no, that's still popping up. Okay, click return to create a virtual machine. Click the previous button. And the previous button again. So everything has checkboxes. I hope nobody else typed in Smith as the virtual machine name.
No, I typed in Goodman instead.
I hope you didn't pick Goodman because I've already got a Goodman out there. It would probably fail.
No, I'm kidding.
So Haley, scroll to the bottom again and hit the drop down on SSH, and I don't know. That looks great. I don't understand. Click review and create again. Rerun the validation, see what's going on. Validations passed. The warning about SSH, that's good. Click create, and then click your download button.
Oh, I got it.
So it's going to put it in your downloads folder. You can put it in your downloads folder or OneDrive or a thumb drive or something. Go ahead and save it. It's just possible Microsoft's extra busy this afternoon. Now, does everybody have the PEM key? Once you have that key, if you're at your home, you're going to have to convert that key over into a Putty formatted key. So you're going to have to search for a program on your computer. You're going to have to search for Putty Keygen. And as you see on my screen, it's got a little monitor, lightning bolt, and a key on there. If you can't find that on your home computer, then you might possibly need to go to Google and go to the Putty's download site. And you'd want to grab the 32 or 64-bit MSI Windows installer and install Putty. That will include the Keygen program. Avoid clicking and downloading just putty.exe because Keygen is a separate, it comes with the MSI when you install it. So the Putty Keygen program needs to open up, and it looks like that. Pretty plain little program. The PEM file is not a format that the Putty executable can use to connect to our CentOS virtual machine. But this right here lets us load up different key types and convert it over into a form that the putty.exe program can use. So you'll want to use load button. You want to navigate to where you downloaded, and it's looking for a Putty private key file, but you didn't download a Putty private key file. You download a PEM certificate, so you'll have to view all files, and then you'll have to scroll and find, well, you probably don't have any files in your downloads. You have to scroll and find your virtual machines, the PEM file, and just open it. But the key is to select all files, go to where you downloaded it, click the file, click open. It should load up, says it's successful, and it should tell you need to save private key to make it work with Putty. It saves it in Putty's own format. So the key is successfully loaded up. But to really make multi-factor authentication work, you should add a passphrase to it. A secure passphrase like pass12344. That's not secure, but we'll do that for the lab. So it's going to, the security is you're going to have a file, and you're also going to have to know a password. So you got to have two things to be able to get into the Linux machine that we just put into the cloud. That's where our security comes into play. And you'll click Save Private Key. You'll save it somewhere, probably under Documents on a thumb drive and OneDrive or something like that. And you'll give it a file name. You don't have to worry about putting the extension or anything on it. Just type in a file name and click Save. And this is the key that you're going to need along with that password to be able to log into your CentOS Linux machine. Okay, I've already saved the file, so once you got that saved, you can exit out of your Putty Keygen program. I'm going to go back and look at I don't know where yours, you may have a button that says take me to my resource. Go to resource, yep. You can alternatively go to the hamburger, go to virtual machines, then click on your virtual machine link when it comes up. And it will load up a page that looks like that on your screen. I've got dark theme, so mine looks cooler than y'all's light theme, people.
What the heck? You're not seeing my thing?
So when you get to this, your virtual machine is probably deployed by now. And what you're needing to know from this screen, you're needing to know the publicly accessible IP address. Everybody's will be different. You also notice you've got a private IP address, but that's only utilized if you have more virtual machines pushed out into your network resource, and they're utilizing a private IP address so they can communicate internally without going out, over the internet. With your public IP address, that's how you get to it from Putty.
Is it okay that I copied that public IP address?
No, you'll be arrested now.
Too late.
So
Take me away then.
go ahead and launch your Putty program, not the Putty Keygen, but the Putty program. So to connect with your virtual machine, it's not like hypervisor where you can just open up the terminal window and see it that I found. You actually have to use Putty, or if you run a Windows VM, you have to use remote desktop RDP connection to see it. So you need to type in your IP address. Or paste it. Well, then type it in then.
I did that. Yeah.
Once this is typed in, you're going to have to provide the key file to Putty. Otherwise, you'll get a failure because it'll pop in and goes, oh, we're looking for a key and not a password for you to authenticate. So we must provide a key to that. And over here on the category side, you'll find connection, and it'll already be expanded out for you. You'll find SSH, and you'll hit the little plus, expand that out. And then you just click on the authentication section. It too has a plus beside it, but you don't need to expand it out. So with authentication clicked, it gives you the option right here to browse for your private key file, the one that you saved to the PPK format. Click browse, go to where that you save your PPK file, You don't have to worry about, selecting all files or anything because you've already saved it in the right format. So it will be the only file listed, should be the only file listed if you get to the right folder. Highlight that file and click open, and it'll put the path in there. So this is our token. We got the certificate. And now when we click open, we have to know the username that goes with that key file. I use student.
Did you say yes or no to
And
the security alert?
click yes for the security alert.
Okay.
You know what you're doing.
It got slightly lost in there.
And then you type in your password. And you should be logged in to your CentOS machine.
I didn't have to type in my password.
I'm gonna go ahead and record again. And this will be, I will put this classes up on YouTube. So you can rerun if you messed up or you come in late or something. So I'm just hoping that Joshua Main wasn't driving when he sent the email. I sent him, he's here now.
I wasn't. I sent it before I left my house. That's why it took me so long.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
Yes, sir.
I figured you were, but I'm like, I'll make sure my students are safe. I'm gonna record again. So with this machine out there, you can get really advanced with cloud computing. You can set up a whole network, and you can even create a VPN from your location to the Azure network that you set up. And once that VPN connection's made, you can communicate with the systems just like they would be if they were sitting in a wiring closet somewhere. Except you don't have to have the wiring closet. You don't have to buy the servers. You don't have to buy the racks. You don't have to pay for the heating and cooling and stuff. Don't have to worry about changing out hard drives. All kind of stuff. A lot of benefit. They do charge by the minute or so. So that can be a bit. But sometimes they do a cost analysis of all the IT staff and all the floor space. And if you had to build a new building or something to house your servers and stuff in, it could be that it's just a lot cheaper to rent out with the cloud. So we've done one security aspect here is we have two-factor authentication into our CentOS. Next thing I want to do, I want to harden the system. There's lots of different steps to harden the operating system, but what's the first thing you typically do when you install a new OS? What does it normally try to automatically do? Windows automatically tries to do it.
Update.
Update.
Yeah.
So we installed CentOS 7.3. That's very old. Believe Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud, one of them, they keep theirs up to date really well. But Microsoft, they push out an image and they don't care about, remaking images. I don't understand that, why they didn't have 7.8 out with all the patches in it. So we're extremely far behind, and we are extremely vulnerable because we got ports open directly to the internet. And we want to harden our system before we leave for the weekend. We're going to do some more stuff next week, but it's pretty critical we harden it right away. We're not in as root, so we do a sudo. Do you remember from operating systems what the update command is?
At
Yum.
install or at update.
Yum upgrade. Sudo yum upgrade would be the command. I've actually got an assignment out there for you to set up all of this. So some of your assignment will be doing today. It'd be pretty cool. Anybody that's absent will hopefully watch the video and get all of this set up. But sudo yum upgrade, you hit enter, you'll have like 744 things to upgrade, and it'll ask Y, D, or N. You can yes to download and install, D to download only, I think, and N for no, don't do anything, but you want to hit yes or Y on the keyboard and go ahead and let it download all the patches. It should be looking like that when it's downloading patches. It's already downloaded on Talon's and starting to install. And you don't have to worry about how fast your home internet connection is or how slow it is. It's in the Microsoft Cloud and using Microsoft's network, which is pretty fast, it appears. Because I think everybody's already downloaded and installing. So 744 patches that threw on there really quick. My system's already updated. So I'm going to pause the recording and I'll let everybody update and also take a break at this time. I guess I should resume recording and let me look at somebody's machine here. So like Jeremiah's was completed. So he's at the time where he needs to type in sudo space reboot. And hit enter. And it says server unexpectedly closed the network. And you just click OK and you keep Putty open and you wait about 2 minutes time. So I'm checking other people's machines. So who got their sudo reboot first in this class? Was Talon?
That's not me. That's you.
He had already run a sudo su or something apparently. So we're going to, the rest of y'all just rebooted. You may still have to wait a little while longer, but on Talon's, we're going to check and see if his is back up. It shouldn't take very, very long to do that. So if you right click on the title bar of your Putty, you get a nice long listing. And one of the commands is down here in the middle. It says restart session. So hold on for everybody on a Zoom call. Go ahead and just mouse over restart so you can see it highlighted.
All right, one second. I had left click on it and restart and move that cursor over.
Yeah. So restart session is what you want to click on. So go and click on it. And it'll pop up and notice it says login as. So you just type in your user account, and then if you had a password, it would ask for the password again. You type the password and it would give you a command prompt. That way you don't have to try to re-authenticate, retype the password, go find the file again, browse for it. It's right there.
Learn smarter, not harder.
I'm also going to show you how to save the session, although it would be just on that computer you're at. I do recommend that you either put that PPK file in an email it to yourself, or put it into like a OneDrive or Google Drive or something, or a thumb drive so you can carry it. That way, if you want, especially if you're here on campus and you want to play with this over the weekend, you're going to look at some of the assignments due for next week. You're like, ooh, I need to log into my CentOS. Oh no, I left my file on the campus computer. Of course, you can always use remote PC, but if you have the file on a thumb drive or in your email, you could just connect to it at your house. You don't have to remote PC in.
So what do we do if it still hasn't rebooted? It's just
Have you tried the right click and reconnect? What's it saying when you do that?
Click restart session. So
Yeah, right click, restart session. It shouldn't take very long for it to do, like 1 minute or 2 minutes.
yeah, it just says login as. It didn't have any of the other extra stuff everyone else had though.
It should have, well, login as, you should be on top of the like student and then the password, it should let you in.
Yeah, let me in, but it never did. I don't know if it ever finished rebooting or anything.
I'm sure it did. If you did sudo reboot, then yeah, it's, I'm sure that finished. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna exit out of my putty now. Ha ha. I showed you a cool trick where you didn't have to like reconnect the putty, and now I'm gonna make you exit. So what I was gonna show you, if you relaunch a putty, your CentOS might possibly change its address. So if Putty stops connecting to the IP address, you may have to log in and see what the new IP address is. You can set a static one, but for this lab purpose, we're not going to do one. So if I reconnect 152.176.2.195, and I go down and I attach my file again, instead of hitting open, I go back to session and I would give it some name here, whatever you want, and you'd save that. And once that you have all the information saved, I've already done it in the previous class. I've named it Azure CentOS, and you just open Putty and you double click the saved session, and it pops you straight to the login screen where you can type in student and your passphrase. That way you don't have to keep entering the IP address and keep going and browsing and finding that file if you save that session. Well, like I said, you may run into a time when you log into Azure or your save session doesn't work because it's changed its public IP address. If that's the case, it's real easy to update. If my IP address had changed, I would click my saved option. Instead of double clicking it, I'd click load. Notice it would load the IP address, and I could make any changes that I needed and then click the save button to resave any changes. After the changes were saved, you just revert back to double clicking your saved session, and it would allow you to log back in. So that's some neat tricks that you can do with Putty.
I never really gotten this deep into Putty.
Putty's it's got a lot of cool stuff that you just wouldn't imagine that it had. And
Oh my gosh, no fucking.
we might play with WinSCP at a later time. I don't know, might play with it today, but I want to show you some other stuff in Canvas, just to show you what's coming up. This is our 1 o'clock class. Next week, you have your Azure security due on Friday, and it's right under Test Out Chapter 7. Do you see it?
No.
It's there.
There it is.
It's there, and it's due. It's due on next Friday, which is right before Halloween. And let me see what's in my clipboard. Nothing. Okay. I'm going to get rid of that PDF file.
Sucks, I've already opened it.
Because things were different. That's one bad thing about cloud computing. They can update their interface and the way things are done, and you don't have much control over that. So, and the instructions were not the same anymore. The creating of a virtual machine they changed up the wizard. So our Azure security is going to be due next Friday. We've got create a free Azure student account. You've done that. Deploy a free Azure virtual machine. You've done that. Well, there's not an attached document anymore, but you've already done that. What you haven't done, you've not secured SSH with fail2ban. You've not installed a web server. You've not figured out how to open up ports 80 and 443 in the Azure firewall. You only have port 22 open right now. You haven't figured out how to make sure your website's only using HTTPS and automatically updating with certbot. And you haven't posted a screenshot of people trying to hack your system yet either. So you're kind of wanting to hope that you get step 3 done by Monday so that by Wednesday or Friday, people's try to attack your CentOS machine and you have some logs here that the intrusion prevention system's actually working. And then also by Friday, you want to have a website going with some type of web page. You may have to look up super simple homepage, HTML code or something. We got some resources down here and basically the sudo yum update, but we've already done that. There's a page for how to set up fail2ban, a page how to set up a web server on CentOS 7, and a page how to secure the website using certbot. So they're kind of step by step, but you have to figure out and do some Googling maybe and use those resources. Probably not a lot of Googling. And you'll be completing this on the virtual machine that we just rolled out in Azure. All super cool stuff. So that's hardening down. So you're hardening down your websites, making sure people can't SQL inject stuff by using the HTTPS. The yum update, we've already hardened down the OS. The fail2ban intrusion prevention system, we're hardening down the port 22. Throwing layers of security on, some layers anyway. Okay, so I'll jump back here. If I need to get files up to my CentOS machine, well, I got my command line, I can download stuff, but what if there's a file on my computer I want to put up there? Okay, there's a Have you ever used WinSCP before? You probably did in operating systems class one time, maybe. WinSCP is a program that you have to install into your computer. You might not have it at your home computer for your remote people, but it is something you can download and install. It's very similar to Putty. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. So I'm going to click WinSCP. I'm going to try to log in to my CentOS machine. I'm going to click Advanced button right here. Here's an SSH section for authentication. My private key, I'm going to browse for it. There's my Putty key file. WinSCP uses the same format that Putty can use. I will click OK. I'll put the host IP address in. What's my IP address again? Copy the clipboard, paste it in, click login, connecting. I probably should have put student. Username, student, pass K phrase for the key. So there's my student home folder. I'm going to just randomly grab like this text file and dump it over there into that home folder. And if I look at it in Putty with an ls command, look, there's the key file thrown over there. Kind of neat. Any file that I have read access to, I could go find any file in the Linux file system. And if I needed to view it, maybe I'd dump it onto my desktop, drag the host file, drag it over. It dumps it onto my desktop. There it is right there on the desktop of my Windows machine. I can then maybe open it with Notepad++ or something. And I can see the contents of that file. So WinSCP is really, really cool. Lots of admins do that. Instead of trying to learn the VI editor on Linux and making changes, they'll drag the configuration file over. They'll make some changes in here. They'll save it, and then they'll drag it back to the Linux machine and just go drop, but I probably don't have write capabilities on it. Looking at my host file, root has read and write, but my student account only has read. So I wouldn't be able to drag and drop. But you got another issue too. If you save something in Notepad, it'll end it with DOS carriage returns instead of Unix carriage returns. So you have some problems with text files that are saved in a Windows text editor versus text files saved in a Linux text editor. And the tool is not on there. There's like a DOS to Unix and a Unix to DOS command that will convert the carriage returns correctly between Windows and Unix because they use a different character code to represent a return or a new line. But that's way beyond our security stuff. Just showing you WinSCP, great to log in, and we were able to use that key file, username and password. I'm going to go ahead and close out my WinSCP program. Quit without saving. Yes. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
No bueno.
No questions. Well, if no questions, I kind of wanted y'all to work on that Azure stuff on Monday, or between now and Monday. Play with it whenever you want to. You can play around with the Azure interface. And because you didn't put your credit card in there, you can't get in too much trouble. You could spend all your $100 accidentally, but beyond that, I don't think they can get any more money out of you. They don't even get that $100. It's free. My thinking is at the end that if I didn't spend any $100, will they send me the $100 that they gave me? No, they don't.
If that's the case, now I'm gonna make about 500 or 600 different kind of accounts to get all that money.
Yeah. So navigate around, look at different things. And that's all that I'm going to record for today.